Well, thank you, Jay Jones of Texas Forest Trail Region, for joining us at Atlanta Grade School Friends. We learned you came on board, and we haven't really connected with Texas Forest Trail. We've kind of seen it out there online, but we've never really had a dialogue. And as we get closer to opening our building and finishing it out and having classes and programs going on, we want to get ready to really get the word out. I think you can really help us. But tell us how you came to the Texas Forest Trail and what it is, basically.
So prior to this, I worked for the Texas State Historical Association. I was their membership director. And then this job popped up, and I grew up in Port Arthur, Texas, in Jefferson County, down at the bottom of our region, if you will. And my family's had land in Tyler County in the Comus Mill area. So in an effort to kind of move back to my roots in my area, I've taken this job, which takes on 35 counties in East Texas.
It's a lot.
All the way from you guys in Cass County and there at the Oklahoma border down to where I'm from, Jefferson County, and that area. So I'm very familiar with Southeast Texas and Tyler County area. So this is a good time for, I think both of us coming into development, if you will, and I see this as a good opportunity to start a good relationship. Like I said, I hope to get up into your area and visit the school and all the work that you guys are doing here pretty soon.
This Atlanta Miller Grade School, as you know, was built in 1936, and it'll be 100 years old in 2036. So this next 10 years, we'll be planning the 100th anniversary. And I just have to say the board is truly amazing. We received an award from Preservation Texas, from the East Texas chapter, for all the 20 years of volunteer work. And basically, they saw the school, they talked to the community. The community it had become dilapidated, basically, and kind of storage unit. That's it. So it was falling into disrepair. And Jane Cook Barnhill was born and raised in Atlanta. And she saw that school and she was like, people do not just throw away these old buildings and build new ones. Adaptive reuse is definitely the way to go. And she has extensive experience with historic preservation. And so she tried to convince the city and the school district, to renovate it and keep it. But they just, we don't want to do that. Today, they think differently about it, though. I think they look at it more favorably. But basically, the board purchased the school and the land on which it sits. And so it is owned by a nonprofit. The nonprofit was formed officially in 2003, but work for 2 years was going on. And if you look at our website, which I created for this team on WordPress, we have a newsletter archive, but in there from last year is a great lengthy interview with Jane with some newspaper clippings that tell that story. And that was one of the best meetings I had with Jane. It was like hearing the whole story. And then this happened. And then this was not going to happen. And we talked to so-and-so. Actually, someone from the National Trust for Historic Preservation was helping Jane in talking about the benefits of restoring historic properties and the like. But it just wasn't going anywhere locally. So again, they just created a nonprofit. And then for 20 years, it's over $700,000 if you calculate all the hours that these volunteers put in and the independent sector value of a volunteer hour today. So they cleaned it up, cleaned it out, removed rotting, parts of it, wiring, put a new roof on, just stabilized it, cleaned it up. It had old storage in it, and there were just things that were just rotting inside there. It wasn't making it any better. So, but what we found out through this was how incredibly devoted this board was to saving this beloved site. And what if you find, you'll find that on my archive of newsletters on the website is these stories of, I remember attending that, and this is what happened, and blah, blah, blah. So these great stories have come pouring out, and it just has a very special place in that community. And now, of course, people have gone on and moved out, but they can reconnect through that. And we've actually had a few interviews with people, you know, from other cities who attended the school. So we did a variety of things, but and are still, you know, of course, working on an infrastructure. But basically, 20 years of basic physical labor, and first, all that was private investment. There were no federal, state grants or anything like that. Just, you know, there was, I think, a little grant maybe from even the Texas Historic Commission, a little one. I don't remember the details of that, but basically, it's all been done privately. And so Jane is the founding president and still today. And I just wanted to give you that context. 2023, we won the award for the volunteers, and they so deserved it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the amount of work. But in order to move to the next level, I got hired to a couple of years ago to build the infrastructure that's required to attract other partners and major donors and that type of thing. So as you saw, we have a new website. We have MailChimp newsletters every month. We have a GuideStar Gold profile. We have a database now, and we're, you know, research and in dialogues with many wonderful people, which kind of wasn't possible. You couldn't, if you weren't on the inside track, you didn't know how wonderful this was. So I said, you know what you're doing, all these volunteers, and they're talking to each other and they're so energized. I said, but you have to shine the light out so other people can see how great it is. And so through YouTube, actually, I created a YouTube channel for them. And basically, we started having community conversations on YouTube.
And that's what I was going to ask was what was the turning point, or what was the breakthrough to get the community engaged? You had some obviously well-engaged volunteers that this meant a lot to them, but as far as, you know, the normal guy walking down the street, what does he care? You know, so
exactly. Well, you know, they kind of just saw it. My sense, I'm just speaking from my perspective as relatively new to the project, is that I just started reaching out to them and asking them, you know, if they would use this facility, or like the chamber I reached out to immediately. And, you know, they really were not focused on it. That's one thing I don't think the volunteers are quite aware of, how, like, what are you doing over there? We don't even know what's going on. And so we've been telling that story. But then it occurred to us, actually, I had a really great dialogue with a foundation executive director in Midland. And he said, you know, for funding this kind of a project, you know, it needs to engage the community. And I thought, you know, I'm engaged with the historic preservation community as a whole, but not with the day-to-day person living in Atlanta, working in Atlanta, owning a business in Atlanta, you know, making ends meet in Atlanta, you know, creative people in Atlanta. And so some of them were peripherally kind of looking at it, and they had maybe taken a tour of the building, but they didn't really know its story. So we started visiting with the Atlanta Public Library, which huge need for space. You know, this is what it is. You know, of course, it's a school. It's a historic school, so it has classrooms and has an auditorium, and had some additional classrooms added a little bit later along one side. And those would make great office space. Frankly, they're really lovely. And people seem to, when they take the tour of the school, and you're going to do that hopefully with Danny.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
That it's filled with light. It has this really wonderful energy about it. And so people of all ages love going in there and just seeing it and some of them reminiscing, but basically I started talking to them, and then this foundation director, who I thank profusely, I said, I had not thought about that. But, maybe the community needs to know what's happening. So YouTube, you can see a lot of the conversations. And so Preservation Texas, Connor Herderick over in Tyler, who's so supportive and wonderful. Atlanta State Park, Atlanta Area Chamber, Atlanta Public Library. Atlanta Public Library is part of the city. It's a beautiful, that old post office building. The Atlanta Historical Museum, which is in the Union Pacific Depot, old train depot, and all the alumni. And then there is a movement afoot just in East Texas, and really kind of nationally, a new focus on education for jobs, not just abstract learning, but actual job training and technology. And one thing that kept coming up, and as I would ask people in our conversations, we want a facility that is high tech, that has technology. And so we had been, of course, prepared our National Register application and done all the historic preservation things, hired architects as one of the finest in the state and nation to guide the architectural restoration, make sure it's really top notch. And so we had done all that fussy stuff, We, of course, had a marker from the Texas Historic Commission from 2006, right away, really, pretty soon after it was saved by the board. So that came up. So what would we do in the facility? So I started thinking about that too. And I share ideas with the board by email. It's like, what do you think of this? And, it's interesting, this community, it's kind of got a dual personality in the sense that it always says, we're kind of old fashioned and family values, which is true. But I said, I actually put this in a newsletter. I said, I've checked the statistics on Facebook, which they love that. That's really a great hub for anyone wanting to know what's going on. So I checked the statistics, and they're all on mobile devices. Yeah. And I said, you think you're not tech savvy or anything, but what's this? Yeah. Same thing with MailChimp. Where are they reading it? It's on a mobile device most often. So, so at the same time, this was coming out, and the community was going, yeah, if we could have meetings in there and they were high tech, that'd be great. Or the library has served veterans who have no laptop and they have no broad, internet access, and other members of the community that need help with computer, work and applying for jobs or applying for services or benefits or whatever it is. So over there, the library has been so good about that, helping people navigate the internet and to get that business done. So we talked about the fact that maybe we could have a little room set aside, space somewhere in there in the restored school where they could do more of that and have more space and certainly real strong internet. But as you know, Cass County has a large percentage of veterans. And so it makes sense for us to focus to some degree on veterans. And so I think our treasurer is going to reach out to the new veterans office in Cass County at Linden at the courthouse there. So we reached out to Judge Travis Ransom, who's been a great friend and ally. I mean, that dialogue's going.
Yeah.
And the ideas are percolating, So I have to admit, sometimes I get kind of poked. They're like, oh, this technology, you just don't. Posting is not the only thing in the world. I said, well, I don't know if you noticed anything about fundraising, but I'm getting through faster to people on Facebook than I am by an email or a call or, But I got a really nice discussion going with the Architects Council of Governments up in Texarkana. And so we're going to, as I speak, I'm drafting a proposal from which will be aimed at the U.S. Economic Development Administration, which is Department of Commerce, basically. And that it's focused really on business development. If we can entice the chamber to move its offices in, they've expressed an interest. If we can have these educational programs for maybe high school students at Atlanta Independent School District on technology, put that in there. If we could have like a computer lab and just, ongoing, any class that requires technology. I spoke to Kazi Kirk, our county's, I guess I was going to say famous. He's done a lot of hip hop work, and he's a poet, basically. He's done really fabulously well. He's from Atlanta, but he moved to Texarkana, but he got very close to Atlanta Independent School District. And he likes the idea of teaching high school students who have asked him a lot, how do I get in the music business?
Right.
Not just singing, and what is the real business about?
Yeah.
And so he said, I would love to do that. And he's talked to him. And if you go back in the Facebook pages of Atlanta Independent School District, you'll see that he's been there lecturing and talking and networking with them. And he's just such a great fellow. So there's music. We've had art exhibits. The artists have figured out that the natural light coming in those old windows, those tall banks of windows, is beautiful, perfect. And the artists love being in there. It's great light for them. So we do hope for a lot of art classes and art exhibitions and partnerships like that. So, and I visited 2 weeks ago with Humanities Texas, and there's really neat partnerships there that we might develop. And so we'll keep you posted. So anyway,
there's probably just everything you're speaking about. And then you mentioned Humanity Texas, but there's probably some grant opportunities, for you guys, either, a tech grant or something else that, education through the community and all that. So
yes, a couple of years ago in Austin, I worked with a group called Austin Freenet, which basically is doing what Kendra Hayes at the Atlanta Public Library is doing. And that is, people come off the street and they need to get on a computer and they don't really know how to use it. And so they need a little guidance there. And so I helped them get about $450,000 grant from Texas Workforce Commission to fund CompTIA. If you look on, I'm a huge fan of this organization. It's tech certification programs.
And
the kids coming out these days love the technology and they're very good at it. So what if we could funnel all that energy in partnership with Atlanta ISD and have some CompTIA programming where they learn everything, and they learn safety online and security and what to do and all that. And then they get a certificate, which lines them up for a good job. They get formal training. So I'm sure that will cost something, but I think given my experiences, that's really doable to get some funding for that. So it's something I've mentioned to the board. I said, if you know anyone who could, help us with those classes. The thing is Atlanta Grade School Friends is maintaining the school, determining its future, running it when it's open to the public, making sure that's all smooth, and serving the community well. And so we need an educational partner, probably that's used to that kind of teaching where we can lock in, like the CompTIA and UT Tyler maybe, and all the other groups. And even if they're on a flat screen in the front of the room teaching, they can teach remotely. But to have a real curriculum going on that's real and helpful to give people jobs. So I need to stop talking, though. I want to hear about Texas Forest Trail. Sorry.
Well, I do think it's amazing, and it speaks a lot that this building has become such an essential part of the community, and then now it's a force that is giving back to the community. So it's a really great story. But I definitely want to learn more about that as we move along. but yeah, no, the Forest Trail, we're promoting heritage tourism through 35 counties. So it's a big job, and I've got a
Okay.
staff of one. So I do try and take advantage of social media a lot, like you do. I think that good and bad, that's where a lot of eyes are these days. So that's a good way to reach out to people. We have a Facebook following of about 62,000 and about 32,000 on our Instagram as well. We are started doing a photo of the day, just highlighting just kind of the beauty of East Texas, and that's going to roll into our annual photography contest that we have every year. So we're looking to kick that off likely in August, and I think that'll end in probably mid or end of September. We haven't had the exact dates, but we're putting all that together right now. But that's a great event for us, one of our big signature events, and we get participation from all 35 different counties, and at the end we get a huge collection of images that we can turn around and give back to the communities for their own marketing efforts as well. Currently working with Kilgore and also Nacogdoches on developing hospitality training that we're going to be rolling out here. So we'll probably do the in-person and online presentations of that as well. But we plan to have some kind of ongoing training for the communities, in hospitality and tourism and other things as we move forward. A big thing that I'm kind of into personally are grants, and I would like to provide that information to our area. We're not grant writers or anything, but I think it's important to get that information out to people, let them know about it. I think there's a lot of opportunities out there that people aren't aware of that could definitely be very beneficial to people. And that's something I'd like talk more about your story. But you guys went from having a historical marker from THC not long after you kind of started all this up to now. Are you now waiting on National Registry any day now? Is that what's
Yes,
happening?
actually, I'm not supposed to reveal this yet, but
well, we don't have to talk about it.
well, I can just say that it looks like it's been approved, and we have to roll out the announcement. And of course, there's getting a marker, and what do we do with that? So we're working with Architectus on those details, but I think the news is positive.
Well, that's fantastic. And I just, it's just like, how do you go from, just a state historical marker to now, you're looking at National Registry, and you guys are turning this into a community center. I would love to learn more about that story, not just to tell your story, but to kind of be a model for other communities that you can do this. I went to Crockett, Texas, for Texas Downtown meeting that they had there. And it's the Piney Woods Art Association, and they refurbished the Ritz Theater there in Crockett, and now they have shows all year long, and it's fantastic story. But it reminds me a lot of like what you guys are doing. But I think the important thing is to take that information and share with others and say, these are the steps we took. This is how we got here.
Yes.
And so that's one thing I want to do as a Forest Trail, is to share these stories, with others so they can learn and grow from it as well.
I was going to mention that that is one thing I think is getting noticed, like the Architects Council of Governments up in Texarkana. I had a really nice long conversation with them, and they said, your organization looks really good. It's like that no one really knew about it. We had our website for 20 years was just somebody made it up, and it was 20 years old, and it's not like radioactive glowing in the dark. It was there, but it wasn't too inspiring if you were going to want to get involved, and but we have done certain things that would make a great case to lecture to others or teach others. And I mean, one of the simple things we did was Google Maps. I got on there and I was like, just, oh, gosh, they had a 20-year-old photo. All the brush was over the building. It was brown, dark, scary, kind of looked like a haunted school. And I said, please, please, I got on Google Maps, please help us. And I didn't hear anything back for a long time. And one day I thought, just get on Google Maps and see what's going on. Boom! We had a new 300, a new street view, an actual photograph, and it was all cleaned up. And I'm so grateful. But that process, we checked with the city just by accident. I thought, I better just double check, make sure the records. And by golly, we had the wrong street address for the school, just a couple of numbers off. So I had to make sure and coordinate with the city. We got that done, and we got the Google Maps done. I actually created, and I think so. This, Jay, is something for you. I've been a Yelp Elite Squad member for 11 years, but it seems to me you could develop some really fun programs by getting everybody that wants to have visitors, to do Yelp, like a Yelp tour of the East Texas. Or anyway, so we have a very nice Yelp profile. I don't think I'm the only person who's checked in yet, but encouraging people to actually check in and go, oh, it's great. So that was something I wanted to mention, that those, I told the board, I said, those platforms like Yelp are more powerful than you think, and so it will mean we have to really, which they of course would do, but keep the facility up and looking good and super clean and organized. And so when people come or try to set up a meeting there in the future, they just have a great time, So, and they write about it on Yelp. That's what we hope they'll do. So those platforms help generate a lot of activity. There's just Google reviews if you wanted to. But there are things like that, creating a Yelp profile, getting ready to be open to the public, and getting people to check in.
Well, I think that's the other end of it. You can have that profile or whatever, but you have to have some QR code or something there, on site, and remind people, hey, check in, and maybe even offer an incentive or whatever for them to do so, but
yes, we we have kind of an old-fashioned capital campaign titled the 3 R's, for restoring and renovating and reimagining, et cetera. But I call it unofficially the best of the old and new. So it's going to have its markers. We're going to have displays, historic displays in there that anyone who, if they're just coming to walk in to see learn about the history, or if they're actually attending a meeting and they're on a coffee break and they want to go. So I think Humanities Texas may be a great source for us, because they've done some really great work with that kind of thing in other cities. So, but it is meant to be also very modern. And we just found out there's Cass County's it's taken a while to get broadband in, and especially like Atlanta State Park, we were having one of these conversations, and the superintendent's internet was like freezing. He said, this is a problem.
Yeah.
So they're going to be locating a hub for fiber near our school, as it turns out.
That's fantastic.
Wow. So there's some of these professional, I think, good partners there. So we will be up and running and modern, not just, we'll be old fashioned and newfangled.
Right. Well, you've got the Smithsonian exhibit next year, right? And is that April of next year? Is that right?
Actually, I think January. I don't know if there's been a change yet or not, but
I think you're right.
Basically, the Atlanta Historical Museum, they did a proposal and were accepted, and they said, hey, you want to go in with us on it? So if we get everything done, with the facility and people can come in, we'll have part of the exhibit in there. So fingers crossed on that. But so 2027 will be hopefully our big year.
Yeah, well, I've, like, as you know, Kelsey Knox is on
Yes.
our board, and so we've talked quite a bit about the Smithsonian exhibit. I've been on some mutual meetings and things. So
She's really, really good. She's really
Fantastic.
sharp and just the nicest person,
Yeah,
That's one thing
absolutely.
about Atlanta I've enjoyed. I'm working remotely, of course, but basically everybody's just so nice, and they really
Well,
want to see the best for their community, and that is incentive enough for me, that makes me want to be part of it and help them.
Well, between meeting Kelsey and now meeting you, you're both great representatives for Atlanta. I can't imagine how everybody else is just as friendly, but I'll take your word for that. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. So I think one of the things our community conversations like this one we're having today, we're also building an audience where people actually come and use the school and have programs certified. The park is part of Texas Parks and Wildlife, and they have many certification programs.
Right. Well, I think that's important. You can have a historical building, but is it just going to sit there? I mean, you'll have some interest. People want to come do tours or whatever, but I really love what you guys are doing and making it part of the community every day,
Yes.
and I think that's important. And I think it's a realistic and kind of a modern way to look at preserving, historical places.
Yes.
Has supported and carried this for a long time, but that's not realistic indefinitely, so to make it part of the community, I think is the right move.
It's a really modern concept, and several people have said, this is really creative. It's really very interesting way to handle it. I actually worked with GuideStar on our profile, and that would be something I would always suggest nonprofits in the region of East Texas do. But it's free to claim your profile. They're going to upload your tax returns whether you like it or not. So you might as well have a great looking profile and pretty photos. Go ahead, put it up. And I worked with them, and I looked at our designation. I don't know why I didn't notice that sooner. But last year we switched it to community development, community center, and not a primary school. And not necessarily just a historic site. It is going to be a historic site and a noteworthy one, but its real purpose day to day now has moved to an outward facing public community use center.
Right. Well, I think that's ideal.
Yes, I like it. And basically this whole thing was inspired by a discussion with the foundation director. It was like, he kind of said what you were saying. Well, is it just going to sit there? What are you going to do with it?
Well, there's, and nothing.
I forgot.
Well, I'm glad to see that's the type of thinking going on there, though, because it's, like I say, it does offer sustainability in a way to integrate it into the community. So, yeah, that's something, over these 35 counties, I see so many downtown areas that are real assets to the communities that are unfortunately neglected now. And I really want to, help motivate these communities and convince them to reinvest into their downtown. And I know there's different tools to do that, taxes and other ways to make that happen. But that's something I certainly want to explore and kind of encourage. Every county seat should be investing in their square, their downtown. In Tyler County, there in Woodville, they've been started doing second Saturdays where they'll have a band come in, they have some vendors, some of the businesses stay open late, and they do it once a month, but it's a great draw, and they're starting to bring people from the outside areas, to come in. And think about it is they've been consistent with it, and they've got a couple of anchor businesses downtown that are really wanting to do this. So, but it's that, you've got to work with the community, to get those types of things started. But it's encouraging to see areas do that.
Well, we're getting because I have many years of experience doing that in a kind of a technology background. I've actually been thrown in the deep end of some campaigns that I didn't know how bad they were. And I had to figure out, it's like sink or swim, figure out how to do everything with no other staffing than myself, kind of like what you're doing. And so technology has been a big part of that. And I used to run a nonprofit tech club here in Austin for about 6 years. So for nonprofits, obviously. And how to do more with less. I'm definitely that person. I know it sounds kind of hackneyed, but that is absolutely the truth. That got me in. Hey, have you tried this? And but it is, if you think smart about it, what we're doing is by kind of getting on YouTube, which people are like, where are we on there? Well, I said, have you ever searched on YouTube for Atlanta, Texas? And there's like, I hate Atlanta. This is horrible. It's always people who are disgruntled who get on there. And yeah, there were some nice things in the Atlanta State Park and a couple of tourists who just videotape them walking around town. So there's some nice things there. But then I started learning the history of Atlanta. So I've on our YouTube channel, I have saved some videos that are from other organizations that talk about the area, and are doing different things. Like the park is a really great example of that. But basically, by elevating it and showing how beautiful it is and what friendly communities these are, I think we're going to attract new businesses. There are plenty of them looking. And one thing we have done with our campaign is kind of draw up a extensive written case for what we're up to. And we have sent it to our senators, our, elected representatives, and to the governor. And the point is, and we've just basically asked them, keep your eyes open. This is a great place. And they really have as a goal, I connected with Merrill Davis at Texas 2036, who they're imagining what's needed and what can happen. And, Texas has a lot of rural communities, and they are trying to push money out. I really like what the governor's doing, and that is pushing money out more to the regions. Veteran services, certainly we've got that in Cass County. So, but there's more, and also to back us up, like should we go for our federal grant for economic development, then we want them, they've actually said they would help us. So back us up. So give us that little push, to say, hey, this is good. It's fundable and well thought out and planned and all that. So, but we haven't just talked to the community and the donor community in the region. We have talked to our elected officials, and man, they're paying attention. We like that. So I just wanted to tell you for your own benefit as well. Just if you're doing mailings or all that, follow those elected officials and, stay on top of it, and then send information because they mean to help. They do mean to help.
But they don't know what they don't know. And I think it's important that you just, you let them know. You're not even asking for anything right now. You're just saying, hey, just keep an eye on us, and this is what we're doing. And when the time comes, they'll, hopefully be there for you guys.
Yes.
But with the school coming around as a community center, and then you guys are going to be a hub for fiber optic, those are a couple of things right there that, can be a big incentive for a business to move in or something else, so.
Oh yeah. Once we get really wired for broadband
Mhm.
like that,
Mhm.
it's going to be doable. If so many people today, I've been reading, I follow statistics and how trends are changing, and everybody laments the fact from the small towns, the great, smart, young people just move off to Dallas or something. But
Brain drain.
they're
I think.
actually, the trend is a
Coming
lot
back.
of them are moving back home.
Yep.
They've had
Yep.
enough, they've done it, and now they're coming back home.
Yep.
And if you were going to raise a family and be in a supportive, smaller community where people actually know you, this is the Atlanta, Texas is a great place for that. And I think there's so many benefits to living in a rural community. And if we just can modernize those few things and make it real easy to touch the rest of the world, well, then I can live out in the woods in my favorite little property there. If I could, it's like me in Austin. I can go downtown and check out the technology and what's going on at the library. And then I can come back home and work in my quiet little space here in North Austin. But anyway, sorry. So yeah, if we can partner on things, and I think you're on our newsletter list, perhaps.
I think I am. I think I signed up the other day. I'll double check and make sure
Okay.
that I am.
No, keep your eyes on it, and then anything you think of. And I think we need to get through this fall and get the bucks in. In fact, this is grant writing week on top of everything else. It's very important, but we have to get the money in, then we can finish up. But I think it's great you're taking a tour with Danny Stanley, and he certainly knows it. He lives right near the school and he's seen it from the very beginning. So he can see the changes, and they have actually redone those windows, and they're still finishing that up, I understand, with floors. And so it's starting to come to life, as a modern community center.
Yeah, I think I'll come in July. I haven't scheduled with Danny yet. He reached out to me. But I'll schedule that. I'll let you know when I'm coming so we can get together again, and we'll drag Kelsey as well.
Yes. Kelsey, it would be good. I'm sure she probably has toured the school, but it'd be great if she could come on your tour, just because the two of you are a team. Absolutely. But yeah, if you ever think of anything where we could be helpful, or I could put a notice of, like, I think the photography contest, if you have like a little banner or something, I could put that in the August newsletter.
Okay.
And, we're happy to do that. We have been trying to promote the East Texas Historical Association a little bit, which they kind of come alive every so often, do a conference, and then they get really quiet for a while. But they're scholars doing great work on the history of East Texas. And so we would like to have more scholarly partners and researchers. One of our board members, Cindy, and I are going to meet tomorrow with the Portal to Texas History.
Oh, wow.
And I'll report back. I might put that in the newsletter, because the newsletter comes out Saturday. I might have time. But basically, we think, not official, but we think we can have our own little mini archive there, digital.
Perfect.
Purely digital on the portal, which is so searchable. And I've used it a lot in my work for grade school friends. So they have grants as well, and could perhaps assist with professional digitizing. We have no pictures. Here's the school, kind of like this. So we need, really somebody who knows scanning. And we also need our team, which is very strong on history, to date and identify what's going on in the historic photos, of which there are many on our Facebook page. So you can see, I told them, I said, some of them of our board, I think, is a little worried. It's really that love of that school and the memories and all the good times and the friends. And I said, none of that's going away. But, you're going to have people in the community meeting and using that space and loving it in a whole new realm. But at the same time, we need to have really accurate displays, really accurate historical information online, because when the school opens, oh, that's a historic school. I wonder what the story is about that school. It's like, oh, we have that on the portal, or wherever, and in person. It's got to be both. It's got to serve both.
Well, Port of Texas would be great. That'd give y'all some good exposure there. So.
I think I can see myself doing a talk about, the good, bad, and the ugly. How we did it. Things to watch out for. No, this is not good. This is great.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's invaluable experience.
A case study. And I will say, just Google Maps, that one thing we use. We have a Google Workspace, which is what we're doing now, using one of its components, Google Meet, and Google Maps. Thank you so much. Can you imagine a donor? We approach somebody in Dallas and they get online and go, what in the heck is this school? And they go and they see this horrible hovel that looks like, as I mentioned, a haunted schoolhouse. And it's not. It's been cleaned up and all the brush is cleared away. And it's actually in renovation now. So that, for me, trying to get the good word out about the school is just so hugely important. And I don't know if anyone quite understands how important that was. That and getting the correct address and getting the GuideStar Gold profile. Yes.
Well, your online presence is kind of everything these days. That's the first place somebody's going to look for you or find out information about you. And so that's where you make that first impression now. So
you're so right. And I know people want to not think that's true, but before they talk to you about anything, they get on there and check you out online. Do they have a decent Facebook page? Or they look professional? Do they do goofy stuff? Or, what's the website look like? It's not glowing in the dark from 25 years ago. Wow. They're not very professional. I have in the past done talks, and I nonprofits like, I'm busy serving the mission and I don't have time to upgrade my website. And I said, you do not have a choice. It's not fair. It is not fair. You are doing great work. The work you are doing is needed and it's wonderful. But if you don't convey that professionalism and accomplishment on your social media and website, etc., they do not get it. And I've actually heard donors, I've said, oh, this is a really good nonprofit. You might look into that. And they go, well, I looked at that and that website doesn't look very good. I'm like,
they're going to give you money.
It's not the website, it's what they're doing.
Well, it's just like buying anything online. You're not going to go and just give your money to some crazy looking website or whatever. And then that's a lot of what I've spent my time since I've started here, is just cleaning things up administratively, working on our website, and I need to get out there in the field and meet people. I need to get up to Atlanta, but at the same time, this is important. They're seeing us for the first time, usually on Facebook or on our URL. So we've got to get that right, or at least close to it, because otherwise the conversation stops,
Right.
So,
Definitely. So, well, it sounds like you're doing some great things, and we definitely want to partner. And we're not open yet, but once we are, hopefully we can become an official partner. I saw you had the partner page on the website today. And so we can have all that good stuff. And maybe do you have an exhibit of after your photo contest, like online, but also in person somewhere?
So I don't, but that's something I would like to move towards. And I've had some interest with some other groups of actually wanting to host like an exhibit. So I'm open to those discussions. I want the photography contest is kind of our signature program, and I just want to expand it more. I'd love to have a gala or reception or whatever and recognize the award winners and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah. Coastal Bend, Corpus Christi, has had what is it? Is it the Coastal Bend Wildlife Photo Contest? But they actually produce a book every year.
Okay.
They have a book that they produce, and beautiful photos that people have
Mhm.
taken. So you might reach out to them and see how they
Yeah.
do it. I'm sure there are underwriters for that because it's
Yeah.
expensive to do. But I do think a coffee table book is
Yeah.
still something that's special. It's not all online. That online's important. But if you had an actual product and, when they put, like, of course, the top #1 award-winning photo on the cover, and
Yeah.
and then they educate people about what these photos are about, and so you get like all kinds of great information about the Coastal Bend.
Yeah. And it's another channel for funding as well. So
Yeah, they've been at it over, probably, I'm thinking 30 years. I mean, it's really got a long history. So that would be worth visiting with. Coastal Bend Wildlife Photo Contest, I think it is. They may have changed that, but you might check into that. And
okay.
God, there's some great, great photos that come out of that thing. But you do need an exhibit, and it needs to be at Atlanta Miller Gracedill School, Atlanta, Texas.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have a great space for it. So
We just have to
I'll
get
have to-
the set up, the kid, and the walls, portable walls, and stuff like that to do it.
yeah. Well, I'm excited to come and visit you guys. So I'll
Okay.
follow up
Well,
with you on that.
you're in touch with Danny now about the tour, yes?
Yes, he has reached out to me. I'm gonna follow up with him today and give him a few dates. So we'll nail something down.
Good. Great job. Well, thanks for taking the time. I've been so curious about what you're doing and what's happening and new energy. And of course, we're kind of getting more energetic here.
Yeah.
As we get toward opening, it's like, whoa, happening, and trying to plan, so
Yeah, it's for real now, huh?
it's actually for real. And people are thinking it might happen. By golly, I hope so.
I think it will.
And
Congratulations. You guys have done great work.
we're still working on it, but it's coming along. So, well, keep up the great work, and let me know if I can be of help or anyone on the board, and go take a tour.
Will do. Will do. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good rest of your week.
You too. Take care.